Welcome back to episode 10 of the Real Estate Den podcast. Today we have Amy out of Florida and Boston and Scott out of Denver. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, we will just hop right into it. Amy, I think when the first thing I said when you told me about your markets, you said Florida and Boston. So kind of tell us a little bit about you and how you've
Sure.
been getting licensed in Florida and Boston.
Sure. I don't sugarcoat and I'm going to tell it like it is. So buckle up. I was a licensed agent in Massachusetts for a few years. And then at one point over dinner, my husband and I looked at each other. It was like February and we're like, why do we live here? It's cold. It sucks. Get us out of here. So made the somewhat rash decision to up and move to Florida, at which point I was like, well, I guess I need to get that Florida license. And the test is not easy. I'm actually writing an article right now about the Florida licensing exam. There's like a 50% pass rate, which I should have been more concerned about. But I did my coursework in the car on the drive from Boston to Florida when we were moving. I would just like put a video on, listen, put a video on, listen. So that's how I did like my licensing coursework and then took the exam when I got down here. Similar exams, not super rocket science, but the market's very different, which we can discuss later.
Okay, fun. So you have people back in Boston that sort of help you do the deals.
Yep, I have kind of boots on the ground in both places so that if I have to be in Boston for certain clients and I need something covered here or vice versa. So I promised myself that I wouldn't maintain both licenses if at any point my clients weren't getting the level of service that they deserved. So I'm hoping to hold true to that word. And if at some point it's not manageable, I'll change my mind, but I am headed to Boston next weekend. It's February. It's cold. I'm not looking forward to it.
We actually had a guest that she does like a bunch of business in Chicago out of Denver, and she's got boots on the ground. So she's just got fabulous systems. So hey, if you have systems, do it. That's why we're in real estate, right? Is because we can do things like get educated in the middle of a long drive and get licensed and serve clients. Scott,
absolutely.
Tell us about you and your market and a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. I am based out of Denver. I did work for a Northern Colorado resident company a while ago. So I cover from Fort Collins to, I say, north of Castle Rock. So it's a very, very big area.
Perfect. And then you guys have both been in the business about the same amount of time. So, Amy, kind of explain a little bit of the markets when you first got in 7 years ago, as to now. What do you think, like what have been some of your key pivots, I guess, to sort of being in business and working in your business and then growing, over the last 7 years?
Sure. So when I first started, I knew what I didn't know. And so when I first started, I joined a team. That was 2017. So I joined a team, learned a lot there, super great experience. After a year and a half with them, I was like, all right, I'm ready for the next step. So then I moved to working with a partner. She'd been in the business like 40 years. She needed my young legs, as she called it, to run up and down all the stairs that they have in Boston real estate, as well as like work on some social media stuff. So I was super fortunate to learn from her while she learned from me. We worked together for a few years, and the markets, I mean, that was 19, 20, 21 pandemic times, but the real estate market in Boston was still out of control. So that was amazing. Then I moved to Florida and I thought, okay, time to go out on my own. I got this. 21 was good. 22 was great. Last year was something like it was different times. Let's just say that last year was rough. A, I was on my own. B, I'm in Florida mostly, and just, low inventory, high interest rates, like all the things that anyone who's been in it longer than me, they've ridden the ride and they've been through it. But it was my first time kind of having that like, oh shit, what am I doing moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can ask, so you said you moved to Florida and you did great that first year. How did you build up a sphere? Where did you find your business in that time?
I was still doing a lot of business in Boston, even though I was physically living in Florida. JetBlue and I were besties, and I was on a plane just about every other week going back to Boston to serve clients up there. So that's kind of why it was still good, because I'm still slowly building a sphere down here. Florida's a tough market. And there's, I think, the most agents per capita of any state in the country. So.
Awesome. Scott, what about you? How has it been the last 8 years, and what have you kind of had to, what's been the movement for you and your business?
Well, here in Denver, it was basically, when I came in, it was a feeding frenzy. It didn't matter what we did as agents. It was all about the money. That's all it was about. And I felt really bad for my smaller buyers or the FHA buyers. You go to a house 3 hours after it's on the market, there's 15 offers, and we're the only ones getting a loan. So, you still write it for them because you're still advocating for your client. But it wasn't until fall that I could get all of those clients under contract. I guess like everybody else, 20 was tough. 21 was pretty good. 22 was pretty good. 23 was tough. And it was tough for everybody, even all the top producers in Denver. I mean, obviously they still did really well comparatively to, people that don't normally produce their numbers, but they were down as well. We decided to switch brokerages. I wanted to focus more on the luxury side, so I found a brokerage and interviewed and got accepted to a brokerage that could help me with that.
Nice. So you took a brokerage shift, and I think that's happening a lot with agents too. Just in the market, as we're starting to take a hard look at things, because while I'm always erring on, that I try to stay on the abundant plane and not the competitive plane, but things are different. Data shifts. It's not the same. A 3% mortgage is vastly different than a 7% mortgage. Like, that's not the same. So these things, sort of shift. And I think that's just one of the things that makes or breaks an agent, is your ability to sort of like shift around it. And then I love just like the authenticity about, like, man, 2023 was roof, because in a lot of ways it was, in a lot of ways it was still really great. Like, for my clients, my sellers who had bought made money. My buyers who have been waiting and maybe hadn't been were able to get under contract, with, in some cases. So, yeah, definitely. It's been a crazy year. This is why we're the best, guys, is because we can withstand and we can sort of ride the emotions of the industry for our clients. What do you wish you had started doing sooner, or what do you wish you had stopped doing sooner when you kind of think back into your career? Is there anything that you've done in your business that has just, changed things that, that you wish you would have started sooner? For me, and I know Amy can definitely speak to this. I started posting just daily stuff on social media, and it was really, really tough for me, because I am not like to post daily real estate stuff seems super redundant. So I've subscribed to a service that gives me content that I can then, post. And I mean, that's just helped my algorithm. And I think connecting with clients and just reminding people what I do. We'll go ahead and start with Amy, and then we'll head down to Scott.
I will say, I wish that I had learned to work with my energy instead of against it. And that sounds a little woo-woo. Let me explain.
Love it.
Despite me being on a podcast with you, I'm an introvert. Like, I am drained by people. So you're probably wondering, what in the hell are you doing in real estate? I can be really good in real estate. Like, when I connect one-on-one with people, they really like me. I really like them. We have great relationships. But like, the cold calling, the door knocking, all those really extroverted, outgoing things were complete energy sucks for me. I didn't enjoy them. Because I didn't enjoy them, I wasn't good at them. And I wish I had just tried to be the authentic me early on, instead of trying to do what I thought a real estate agent was supposed to do.
What were the other things that did work for you?
I'm actually great on social media. I love telling like Instagram stories and sharing and things like that. I also shockingly am really good at open houses, because I am able to connect one-on-one with someone who they want to be there. I want to be there. It's not a forced engagement. And so, really putting time into open houses. And I've recently started doing a ton of writing, which I love, and not to toot my horn, like I'm good at it. And that is getting me exposure and getting me out there and just embracing who I am and not trying to be someone else.
I love that. Scott, what about you?
When I first started, I worked for a small boutique, and like Amy, taught all the old school ways of doing it. I just did like 2 years of objection trainings, and we bought all the nice shiny objects. We were one of the first agents in Denver that had the no ring voicemails, and thought this is cool. This is going to get our business going, and all it did is suck money and annoy people and got nothing from it. The other one was buying online that we were taught to do that. We did it forever. My wife was like, I'm done with this. And I pulled the trigger because she left it up to me. So I was like, fine, we're done. And I completely cut it off. I should have been focusing on what I'm being taught now was focus on your people in your sphere. That is where everything's at. They already know you. They love you. They trust you. Online leads was about who's first. And that doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to buy a house and you put an inquiry on one of the big online forces, the websites, I just don't want to say their names here, but put their websites out, like, you don't know what you're getting. Why aren't you interviewing other people? Just because they called you first, does that mean they're the best agent for you? Maybe you guys don't get along. Maybe the way they do business is not the way you want to do business. Like, there's a lot of things here, and you are buying the biggest single purchase you will ever make in your life, regardless of price point. That doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Giant purchase. You're just going to trust the first person that calls you. That amazes me.
Yeah.
So that's what I focused on. Is just my people. And it's actually worked better.
I'd love to add on to that too. Like the online leads, I know people for whom it works and works well and go forth and conquer. But from an agent perspective too, you're about to go walk in a door of an empty house to meet a stranger who could be crackerjack crazy. Like you're putting yourself at risk too, And so to your point, if I get a referral from somebody who knows me, odds are that referral is not crazy. And there's just that trust goes both ways too. They know to trust you, and you also can feel safe showing up to a property with that person.
There is, and they did. I mean, Amy, I don't know if they did out in Massachusetts or Florida, but Denver was really big with educating agents on safety. Because there's been bad things that happened to female agents around the country. We all know what it is, which triggered all this training. I always told when we had the team, I told people, especially the females, like, have somebody, whoever it is, I'll be it if you need it, but give me where you're going. This is your schedules of the houses you're seeing, this is the time you're meeting, and text me. Hey, it's good, we're going good, I'm still okay, that kind of thing. The biggest thing I really took from that was men don't ever think of that. Right? Men are like, they're not going to touch me, I'm a pretty stocky guy, but it doesn't matter, right? And the little thing, like for female agents, and a lot don't know this, when you're showing houses, especially if you don't know them, and even if you don't know them really well, like little things like when you open the door, they go in first, you do not. When you go upstairs, they go up, you go up after them, right? Keep yourself at a distance, keep your phone on you. Don't ever leave your phone in the car. I don't know how many agents I know that are women that leave their phone in the car. I'm like, it's like insurance. Like, you would rather not have to use it, but if you have to, you need it in your hand.
I have the property information on my phone, and I tell them I'm not texting. I have information right here, just in case you need anything. So like my phone's right there, so I can FaceTime if I need to.
I was gonna say, like, I need that, like, showing information. I was like, I never leave it in the car, but
yeah,
it always just makes you think twice about different safety measures to take, which is sad but true.
Agents don't.
And there's one that I learned from a male agent yesterday. There is a program, an app you can put on your phone. It's called Forewarn. You can actually look up people's information just from their cell phone.
Okay.
So if you look and I don't know what it cost. I thought NAR, maybe it was my association that offered it. But regardless, it's worth the money, right? Because you can pull it up and know everything you got about it. So if something's fishy on there or what you're being texted doesn't match what's on here, right? That's when your sixth sense can come up and say, either I'm not going to do it or I'm taking somebody with
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely.
All right, I didn't mean to take us down a deep dark
No,
hole.
that's okay. I do want to lighten us up a little bit now. Like, like, oh,
me. Right, but everybody needs this information because a lot of people don't. They don't attend their association meetings or read their emails, and this is
it's
where
true.
stuff goes out. It's easier for them to get to the masses. But if people are listening to this in your agents, like this is very, very, very important. And I can't use very enough. I don't know if there's a gradation to very in the English language, but it is like where our safety is number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Um, what have you been doing that's new and exciting in your world, Scott? What's sort of taking precedence in your business in 2024? You said you had switched brokerages. Do you have anything else new and exciting?
Actually, a lot. Apparently, I don't like doing enough. Um, so I sit on our state association board of directors. I'm also, and for speaking agents here, they should know who this is. I'm also on the RPAC committee. So that's very, very, those are two things that are very important to me. That's the leadership roles. I was asked to be on a national TV show called American Dream TV. I just shot my third episode. Um, so if I can do a harmless plug here, like go to my YouTube
Nice.
channel, type in Scott's Hotspots. I am traveling all up and down the areas I work. So the first one I did was Longmont. The second one I did was this absolutely beautiful home with tons of history in Greenwood Village. The third one I did some really cool stuff in Denver. It's not out yet, but if you like ice cream and history, you're gonna want to catch it.
Great.
I'm also running for public office for a leadership role as a public trustee.
Oh my goodness. What does that sort of entail? Like, how much time is that? Like, if you're running for office, these elections that are coming up in November, is that when you'll be getting voted?
No, the
No?
municipality elections are in April.
Okay. So that's
They
coming.
are, and nobody votes in municipality elections, and it doesn't make sense because, like you can make the most impact in a smaller area, right? So they're like, hey, if you want to help your association, if you want to help your realtor brand where you're at, like do something at your association because they need the volunteers, whether it's a committee or a leadership role, they need you. Then you move up to state where you can still make an impact, not as big, and then you move up to the national, like it's really, really hard to make an impact. But if you're really passionate about what it is, about anything, that's where you should go. The trustee basically runs the city. It's a panel of 7 people. They're the ones that make all the decisions. And and when you're doing all these leadership roles, one thing I like to tell everybody, especially if you've never done it, is you have to remember when you walk in there, what hat are you wearing? Especially when you're talking to anybody, where's your hat? Like if I'm at my association, I'm like, okay, my hat's at the smaller level, so I need to make decisions just for here. Where at the state level, I have to take that hat off and put a different hat on and say what's best for the whole state, not just for my area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the toughest part, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think, and I've as being in the leadership role alongside you, I think you do an excellent job. I will say, there's my shameless plug for you, Scott.
Thank you.
Amy, what do you have new and exciting this year?
So I think I mentioned earlier to you off the recording that I was in education for almost 20 years before getting into real estate. And I realized I missed parts of that. And so I started to work on how I can bring that back into my real estate world. And I think there is a serious lack of, I don't want to say training because that's not the right word, but almost education. So people get their real estate license, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get your license. We all know how many square feet in an acre and the definition of chattel. We don't actually know how to be an agent.
Nope.
We don't know how to find a brokerage. We don't know how to calculate commission, like all those things that are the nuts and bolts in day to day. So I've been really working on creating educational opportunities for agents because I think the better we all are, the better the industry is, right? I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, oh, just go get your real estate license? Like, oh, anybody can be an agent. Oh, he's a real estate agent. Like, we all hear those things because there's this stereotype of who we are. And the reality is, I mean, like, look at Scott and I. We are two really highly educated professional individuals who happen to be real estate agents.
Mhm.
And we get lumped into that category of like the real estate agent. And so I am on a mission to educate agents to make them just put forth their best, whether that's in their relationships with clients, whether that's in their writing, whether that's in their just general business aspects, like just helping them be the best that they can be so that we are all better. Because Scott, you can attest to when you are in a deal with an agent on the other side that has no clue, you're like, sweet Jesus, right? Like, so I feel like by making everyone better, we just get better. And so that's been my like latest hill I'm gonna die on.
Awesome. And you are offering, I think you said content. You're helping agents with social media, which
Totally.
is
Yeah. So,
a
well,
little bit
not social media. There are plenty of really good services out there that do that. And I'm good at social media. It's not my like super sweet spot. So I'm really focusing on the writing aspect. There are lots of emails we send every day to clients, to our sphere, to other colleagues, to referrals, to our network. And crafting a really quality email takes time. And I don't know about everyone else, but how many emails do you send from the Starbucks parking lot on a regular basis, right?
Mhm.
From your phone, hoping to God you spell things correctly. So my goal is to create some opportunities for very low investment for agents to really have access to quality written content materials that will just up their game. Similar to the social media things that are out there, but this is specific to like emails, newsletters, your agent bio on your profile pages, all those things that people are seeing on a regular basis that are conveying to them who you are, how professional you are, how qualified, competent, articulate, whatever adjective you want to use. People are reading words before they might meet you face to face. And so making sure those words are amazing is what I'm hoping to do.
I love that. I think you should like like do little TikTok videos about like that, about how important words are. Cause that's, I mean, it's very
I
true.
have been a holdout on TikTok because not to give away my age, I'm almost 50 and I'm like, TikTok is not my jam. I'm not doing it. But I think the time has come. I've created the account. I'm
You're gonna
gonna
cross
start dipping my
over.
toe in water.
I don't have it either, Amy. I've never even
It's a
Hey,
lot.
gone
It's
on
ladies,
one more thing.
Are you on
hey,
TikTok?
ladies, have you ever heard the fact that, hey, I'm an adult? I will watch your videos on Instagram 2 weeks later, like I'm
Yes.
supposed to.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes. That's I was like, I probably still watch them. I just watch them on Instagram.
Exactly, exactly.
I thought I was late to TikTok. I joined about a year ago because I had my daughter about a year ago, and then I was up in the middle of the night and I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna check out TikTok. Um, but are you on TikTok, Scott, or no? You do the Instagram reels like an adult?
I am not. Ironically, that was a conversation I had with somebody at my company who helps with, branding on social media. And he and I had talked about it because, I do Facebook and Instagram, but TikTok, I mean, their terms of service I have an issue with. But at the same point, I mean, there's some very famous realtors on TikTok. They made their statement.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the fence, to be honest. We'll see how with the other things go, because you know I do a lot already, and I tend to overdo things. So I think if I can nail those two down, because most of the people, at my age, I'm 50, are on Facebook, right? They watch it. I had just a quick campaign just to see if Facebook worked. I ran a campaign just showing my ADTV stuff. Um, 30,000 people got it in a month. I got like 19 hits on my business page, and I was like, well, what can we do to build on that traction? Like, do I need to expand or just see if this is good enough?
I think it would be if you did a TikTok, and like I said, this is a newbie TikToker. I am not, and I'm not an expert. Please don't come at me for horrible TikTok advice. I don't really know what I'm doing either at all, even a little bit. But I have noticed that there's a lot of like people post like a lot of like their day in the lives and just sort of like this video diary entry. And what I like about that is it's not an additional thought process. Like if you're already going on showings, remember to flip out your camera, get yourself some more TikTok views, and just trying to figure out a way to like add that in a way that's sustainable. Some, like you said, some agents have gotten really famous. They've done funny dances. I think we've seen there's an agent who like dances in all the rooms of her listing to like funny classic music. Like that's freaking hilarious. I could never do it, but like, cause I can't dance, but like it's, it's so funny, but like, especially with like
Viral right there.
but with your like, with all
Put
your
herself.
positions and how much you involve, it'd be good for the younger generation of realtors and agents to see that involvement on their TikTok, while they're not necessarily your direct sphere, but they
Thank you
are,
for the camera.
you should be setting an example because we really need younger agents in these leadership positions. There's not the younger crowd just kind of is like, well, I'm just gonna we'll focus on my niche and make my money and do my thing. And I don't, and I think that'd be great because you could show the fun side of it. Like I said, we've been on a board together. It's a lot of fun to hang out with Scott and Megan's. And it's a good time. So
Yeah, and we do need the ideas of the younger generation. That's and you need both. So I'm in it's called a ninja group. There's young agents in there. They're in their 20s. We're probably the oldest in there at 50. But what's great is there's a lot of things I can learn from them, and they were kind of excited because there's a lot of things they could learn from me. Because they always say you should have friends in your life that are all different agents, because everybody brings something to the table that makes you think of whatever situation in a different light.
Absolutely. I love that. That was just my little, I wrote it down. I wanted to say it to you. It popped in my head. I'm not telling you what to do or anything, but I'm like, maybe that would be fun. Like a day in the life, come to all these things with me. I don't know. And then especially, I mean, I like to watch people traveling and Amy going from Florida to Boston. Like that's a day in the life of a multi-licensed growing entrepreneur. I love to always ask, what would you tell your younger self? Like if you could go back and tell yourself one thing from when you were like a new agent and you just got licensed. And then I like to ask about mornings, and then we'll see, we'll talk about where listeners can find you, and we'll finish up from there. So we'll go ahead and start with Amy this time.
Sure. I think if I could tell my younger self or my newly licensed agent self, it's to really think about the brokerage and the team that you are joining. I was very fortunate. I joined a great team, but it was like the first one who asked me out, right? So because I was like, oh my God, somebody wants me to work for them. The reality is you're a 1099 employee. You can work wherever you want. And you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And they'll sell you a story of, but we'll give you free business cards and this and that. And like, there are all these things that people don't know how to like vet a brokerage and see if it's the right fit for you, because okay, they have the most signs in the neighborhood, but is it a cultural good fit for you? Right. Or if you're super techie and they're still doing a lot of stuff on paper, like, is that going to drive you crazy? I've changed. I'm in my fourth brokerage. And it feels like I've been hopping around, but I feel like I finally found the right fit for me. And I just wish I had known what to look for back then.
Awesome. I love that. Scott, what do you wish you could?
Amy, can I ask Amy a question? Because you said you have an education background. Do you wish you had gotten into real estate earlier? Or do you
definitely not? No, I loved being in education. But it was time for something different. It was time to not be driving to work at 7 a.m. every day. Like it was time to have more than 20 minutes for lunch. Like a lot of those things. It was time for life.
Because I just hear of so many educators like leaving. And I always try to be the parent, because I'm a parent of young children, to not be the parent that wants teachers to leave their industry. And so I always just wonder, because I know there's just so many factors that go into that. But I'm glad that, you know, you did like it, but I totally understand. Sometimes it's just like, I want to do something else, you know, so
Totally. Yep.
yeah, makes sense.
Love it. Scott?
My younger self, and Amy, I loved what you just said because that's what I was going to hit on, and you'll get that point in a minute. But my younger self would be, like Amy said, I would check out talk to more than one brokerage, and go talk to seasoned agents and say, if you could start over again, what would you ask a new brokerage? Because that's your best resource. Are people that have already done it. I'm on my third brokerage, and I finally feel like I'm somewhere like at home. And like Amy said, it's the culture. Like, how's the culture in the office? Because we're all independent contractors. We don't work with the company. We have contracts with the company, but we don't work for them. Um, the other thing is like how many part-time versus full-time agents are in that office, because that's a huge, huge one. And Megan, you know that. I've been to brokerages where we have 50 brokers and 40 of them are part-timers. And you're like, okay, well, they're not even in the know. I would also say, don't just spend money because you're making. Like I said, I bought all the new shiny things that cost a lot of money and did
That's some
absolutely
2023 advice right there. That right there is the 2023 advice.
You know what? Spend that money you want for the new shiny object to go take 2 or 3 of your people out. Go to lunch. Go to coffee.
Boom.
Go
Absolutely.
play golf. Whatever it is you do, it doesn't matter because that's your people. Go be with your people, like, because it's fun. They love to see you. You love to see them. That's the whole reason we got into this business.
Right. Absolutely. What does your morning look like, Amy? Do you have any specific sort of routine, ritual, special coffee cup? Tell us about it.
Yes. Yes to all of the above.
Awesome.
I am a hardcore meditator. I am super open about my mental health. I suffer from anxiety, and meditation has changed my life in ways that I feel like an infomercial. I meditate 3 times a day, starting with my first one. First thing in the morning, I get up, make my coffee, light my incense. I'm on the lanai with my cats, and I do 15 to 20 minutes of meditation just to get myself like in that space. I find that I am much less like impulsive. Like I don't, you get those emails that you also want to fire an email back. Like I don't do that. I'm more thoughtful. I'm more calm throughout the day. So that is a non-negotiable. Meditation and coffee every morning. I'm up early. I don't do well late afternoons, so I need to get up early and get a lot of stuff done before like 2 p.m.
I love that. That's great. And so do you meditate for 15 minutes 3 times a day? So you're doing about 45 minutes to an hour a day.
Yep.
Awesome. I think that's such a great.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's
very impressive.
That's a very great.
It's been life-changing, truly, truly life-changing.
I've never gotten to like Amy level, but I would do, and back in 2020, I would do about 10 minutes, 8 to 10 probably every morning. And yeah, I realized that because I got an email that, old little Megan would have fired back and been kind of a bee about. And then I paused and was like very professional. It's like, it's working. It's working.
Yep.
Scott, what do you do in your mornings?
I'm not as great as Amy, and I mean by that is she's very
Not a competition.
You're less zen.
No, but what I'm saying is she's very routine like, and I am not. Is where I was going with that. It depends on what I have for that day. Is it my day off? Do I have early morning things to do, or is my day starting at noon and I'm working late? Like it doesn't. I don't have one, and I probably should. I do the meditate if like I'm losing my mind, or I mean we've all had this where you wake up, you have your coffee. I try not to pick my phone up right away, but then you start checking emails, and we've all had these days where all of a sudden you're up for half an hour, you have 16 fires you have to put out. So I mean your brain's racing like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's when I'll do what Amy does, where I'm just going to breathe and focus on that. I picture me just sitting by a brook up in Netherlands. This is a place I love to go by the 4th of July Trail. It's beautiful. It's quiet. There's nobody there.
Great. I love that.
I try to remind myself and other agents, we are not saving lives. right? I mean, there's a sense of urgency that comes to you from your clients, but at the end of the day, literally no one is going to die if you don't answer that email right now
Right.
Or
And
the phone.
or the phone.
yeah, like we were talking about boundaries actually on a brokerage meeting this morning about like, you don't need to, don't just responding after hours. Like if the title company's closed, wait, the inspector's not working right now. You don't need to talk to me. Like, you don't, you need to download your Headspace app and take after Amy and take some deep breaths and learn to meditate. Where can our listeners find you, Amy, if they want to get in touch about Boston or Florida real estate, learn more about
Sure.
content, or
So-
just really better?
So crazily enough, I am literally the only Amy Freedy in the world because my first name is very American. My last name is very Tunisian, which is where my husband's from. So if you Google Amy Freedy, anything you find will be me. But the easier way is thatrealestatewriter.com, newly launched, still tweaking a few things, so not 100%, but tons of great resources there. Again, thatrealestatewriter.com. But if you just search Amy Freedy, F-R-I-D-H-I, I'm everywhere. I'm on the Instagram, the Facebook, the place, not the TikTok quite yet, but as we know, that's coming. I would love to connect with you. I'd love to see what you're doing and see how I can help.
Great. Awesome. Scott, where can we find you?
You can, I don't have a website. So if you go to LIV Sotheby's International Realty in Denver, just type in my name. There's my bio. If you would like to go to YouTube, type in Scott Franks. It's Franks like the hot dog. I had to get that in because that embarrasses my kids every time I say it, but nobody seems to understand my name when I say it until I say that. And they're like, oh, now I know it.
We'll have all of these things linked in the show notes for this episode. Any last words before we log off?
I'm going to encourage, oh, sorry. I'm going to encourage new agents to find a mentor, find someone that you can work with who is, you're not competing with them. They're there to help you and help you grow, and that you feel safe in asking questions and advice. That has been super instrumental in me getting to where I am, is having a really quality, caring mentor.
Great. Scott, final words.
I would say the same thing, but not just for new agents. Like if you're stuck, you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, go find people like within your office that, I mean, we just had a meeting this week with somebody and she's a very, very great agent. And we just had a meeting and she was willing to sit down with us. I was like, hey, what do you do? What has worked for you? That sort of thing, and get their feedback. Because it doesn't matter how long you've been in here, there's always somebody that's been in there longer that can help you. And most of them are willing to help. I mean, you don't have to technically call them a mentor, but you know what? They're going to become a friend. Take them out to lunch and ask them questions and make new friends. But I mean, everybody's all about we got to get new clients, but a lot of people miss the boat of, well, how many agents know you and like you? That's very, your reputation in your area is just as important as your reputation with the public.
Absolutely. And business attracts more business. So if you're around business, you're going to attract more. You can't get less business by hanging out with top producers. That's not how it works. So cool. Well, thank you. We will, like I said, we'll have all of your information in the show notes, and talk to you next time.